Yeah, man. Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Brain MMA Podcast, episode 50. I'm your host, BigSteve. I've got old mate Scrap Cap back. How are you, mate? How was your time off?
Yeah, good. Nice to have a break. Ready to get back into betting though, even though it's a shambles of a first card back.
Yeah. We've got to take what we can take. And we've got a special guest, Evan from Combat Capital, or Evaaaand on Twitter.
Steve, thanks for having me, buddy. It's an honor to be on the Big Brain MMA podcast. Your cunt ass got me kicked out of a Discord the other day, so I appreciate that. So cheers. Let's make some money.
That was all you, mate. That was all you. You fucking double down on that. But yeah, got some sharp people for the first card. Hopefully we can find some spots. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe to Evan. I don't have your name down here, Evan. Doesn't matter. It's not worth it anyway. BigSteve and Scrap Cap are the main ones. I'll let you plug it at the end. But yeah, we'll get into it. It's going to be a long one. Hopefully not. 12 cards. First fight on the card, Priscilla Cachoera, Sijara Eubanks. I'll take this one away since I don't think anyone else is clamoring. I don't even have odds for this. I think they keep bringing odds and they're removing him. I think Eubanks should be a favorite here. I think some people talking about potentially playing Cachoeira. I think a bit of recency bias. You know, she's fought some girls that can take her down and then absolutely fold or gas or a Chinny, Mazzani, etc., or Dobson. I think Eubanks is pretty durable. First KO loss, getting teeped by Gato. That's the biggest meme shit I've ever seen in my life. She probably wins that fight. It was 1-1 going into the third. But yeah, I think the line probably unplayable here when we finally get it. Maybe close to minus 200. And at that point, doesn't matter who Eubanks is fighting. I don't really want to play at minus 200. I still remember that Rebecki V fight. So, no odds, but I'm leaning towards Eubanks. If it's something respectable, I'll play her because I think this is a massive step down. What about you, Evangelos? I'll let you go next.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Eubanks is the side. Well, I mean, somebody said, I think Pepe said that briefly Eubanks opened up at like minus 145, which I think that would be a play. Even if just for the sake of the first round could be an absolute mauling while Eubanks has cardio, she could finish her in the first round. She can get a 10-8 first round, and then you could easily, hedge the other side because Cachoeira, for all of her flaws, which there are many, she's horribly unathletic, flat-footed, horrible takedown defense, can't grapple, but she's tough as shit and she'll keep coming forward, and Eubanks is known to gas. So I think if you can get minus 150 in that ballpark on Eubanks pre-fight, I definitely think that's a play because I think she beats the shit out of her in round one, and then after that it's anybody's guess, but you could easily take a massive number on Cachoeira, if she's still around in round two. So I think that would be my angle.
Yeah, I would play that. I would play that, and I would look at that live bet just because, like you said, she takes everyone down in round one. She's beaten better opponents than Zombie Girl. What about you, Scrap?
Yeah, don't have too much to add. I mean, if we do get that price that was mentioned earlier, the minus 145, I'd expect it to get bid out pretty quickly. It makes sense. Eubanks probably going to get some takedowns, get some top time early on. Main risk, obviously, is that she slows down and kind of wilts to Cachoeira's rabies, which is how she tends to win this fight. I mean, could happen, but I'd imagine Sarge blows out to a pretty big live favorite early on with some takedowns and that. So, yeah, makes sense. She would be the side pre-fight, but yeah, hard to have much more of an opinion when we don't have any lines.
Yeah, and it would be good potential live bet on the other side if Sarge completely gasses out. She's got an OnlyFans now. She's 37. It's just red flag city. By the way, worth it. If you haven't paid for OnlyFans, worth it. I highly encourage everyone to check it out. Just beautiful content. We've got a comment for Evan here already. Herb Dean is the gold standard. I just want to know what Evan thinks about We Want Picks.
I think they're really sharp guys. Really classy too. Great podcast. You should check it out.
I agree. From what I've seen, I agree.
Yeah.
If you have any money left over from after subscribing to Sijara's OnlyFans, I would also subscribe to We Want Picks. So those are my two. I might not have any bets on this card, but those are my two recommendations outside of gambling. Alrighty. Next fight on the card, Jimmy Flick versus Charles Johnson. I'll let you take this one away, Evan.
Yeah, I bet Charles Johnson at -200. He opened up like -134. Obviously, what's it sitting at now? Like -400. -350 on Bet Online. There's like a couple -450s out there. I mean, I think it got up to, like -500 on Bet Online. Yeah, I mean, look, the opening line was insane, I think, on Johnson. I think Jimmy Flick stinks, personally. Like, the Cody Durden fight was his last fight before he retired, and now it's his, he's coming out of retirement. I think he's really unathletic, really uncoordinated on the feet. I mean, Cody Durden was really taking it to him on the feet, and I don't really rate Cody Durden striking that much. And then Flick obviously landed that very impressive, flying triangle of sorts. And I think he's a dangerous, opportunistic submission artist. But I think Charles Johnson pretty much has him covered everywhere. I think his Flick's win condition is similar to like what happened with the Cody Durden fight. So I got 3 units down at -200, which I was shocked. Obviously, Bet Online, normally when they open these lines, like there's little bullshit limits. So I was able to get $900 down at -200, and I like it. I think standing, I think he absolutely destroys him. Flick obviously needs to get this to the mat, find a backpack, things like that. So yeah, I mean, at current prices, I wouldn't play Johnson, but if you were able to get in early, and I think I just got lucky. It's not like I'm, sitting around refreshing Bet Online all day, but so yeah, I was happy with -200. I think he's got him covered. Will I hedge at some point with a Flick sub? Maybe. I don't know. I got to think about it, but yeah, 3 units, -200.
Yeah, nice. That's it's a good line. What do you have any thoughts, Pratt?
Yeah, I agree. Early line was good. If I missed it, but I probably would have bet Johnson up to around that. Yeah, like -200 or so, what Evan got. Yeah, Flick's likely early sub or bust, but Johnson's not the kind of guy you want to be laying big juice on just because we saw in his last fight that he's prone to just not doing much really and just not being able to cover those big price tags, albeit Flick is pretty terrible in the whole retirement and then coming back out. That generally doesn't work out too well. So he's most likely early sub or bust. At this price, you're kind of just forced to choose between Charles Johnson, finish, decision, or Flick early subs. I'm not playing any of it. Personally, I'm going to wait for live bet because I would never bet Charles Johnson to finish pre-fight because he's live just to go out there and just jab and teep and do nothing. Guy really kind of lacks a bit of killer instinct a lot of the time. So yeah, I'll probably just wait to live bet it, see how it plays out. So see if it looks like he's going to finish Flick or not, and hopefully be able to get something going that way.
Yeah, he does do that, but I feel like he's a bit underrated with his power. I feel like every time he just, he wobbled Hirouchi in the first, and yeah, he knocked out Moto a bit late. I just think you don't need that much power to knock out Jimmy Flick. He's more of a flake than Chinny per se. I think some of the stuff that he landed on Zalgas as well, he was teeing off on Zalgas in round 3 badly. If Zalgas wasn't so durable, I reckon Flick would have folded a long time before then. But yeah, I just taped it this morning and I was going to zoom over it because obviously unplayable line in my opinion. And then I was like, I'm surprised by Flick's wrestling. It's a little bit better than I remember. He's getting a lot of people to the ground. I just had him pinned as this guy with really horrible wrestling. Obviously, Durden slammed him, but Durden's got good wrestling as well. And then I was like, oh, if his wrestling's not bad, maybe he can get some submissions, in scrambles. But yeah, then I watched Charles Johnson purposely engage in grappling constantly with Roy Val, putting his head in guillotines and in guard, and he's just not in any danger whatsoever. I think the guy is very good at defending subs. He fought a bunch of black belts on LFA. They had his back. Yeah, I think it's... Who knows? I mean, Flick submitted people that have never been submitted before, so who knows? It's probably just a pass. I might do one of those things that, Scrap do, like rounds 2 and 3 KO Johnson, like a tiny sprinkle if he's playing like $7 or $8. And yeah, just leave it at that. Let me address this comment. Do you think Flick's subline will be much better than +400? If the bookies mess up, yes, but I don't think so. Like, why would they line that more than +400? I feel like that's his only path. I'll be surprised, personally. Alrighty, let's move on to the next one. Daniel Argueta versus Razak V Dulgarian. Interesting fight. I'll let Scrap take this one first.
Yeah, so like you said, interesting fight. Don't have much too much like information on the Dulgarian side. He's just run through a bunch of cans in FAC, all first round wins against super low level guys who just don't look like they have much business being in pro MMA fights. Worth noting, he's a Kraus guy. Kraus basically like co-owns and runs FAC, so he's kind of been given some cherry-picked opponents basically by his coach. So what we know about the guy: good wrestler, has some wrestling credentials, obviously decent double leg takedown, and has a bit of a top game, knows how to finish, albeit against really low level opponents. But beyond that, we don't know much. Obviously, we have no idea what his cardio looks like outside the first round. We haven't seen him really ever throw like more than 1 or 2 strikes at a time. Pretty much any time a striking exchange is initiated, he's just ducking in and hitting his double leg. Seen him end up on bottom like once in one of his fights, but again, like just doesn't tell us much because the other guy was just so bad he couldn't do anything with it. And then you got Argueta on the other side. Has kind of like a lot of the same attributes, both short, stocky guys with wrestling backgrounds. Argueta kind of just like a weaponized pace wrestle boxer sort of guy, like good takedowns, good offensive grappling. His defensive grappling, I don't want to say it's bad, but the thing is he just gets taken down a lot because his striking's so bad. He just like rushes in with no regard for like distance or range or anything, and I think that's why he gets taken down. He'll just step right in and give the guy a free double leg. In terms of on the mat, I think his defensive grappling's okay. He reversed the back a couple times against Damon Jackson. I've seen him end up on his back and get up, but if he does get put flat on his back like in guard, he does tend to get stuck there for a little bit. Striking, ugly but effective. He'll just come forward and spam punches, basically. He's fine with getting hit. Obviously, just no defense, though. So pretty much, I think Dulgarian's live to have some wrestling success early. Like if he takes Argueta down, won't be surprised at all. I don't think he can finish Argueta, though. Like Argueta's just been on the mat with way more dangerous grapplers and survived. Just haven't seen anything out of Dulgarian that makes me think he's that high level where he's going to do what Damon Jackson couldn't do on the mat. So for me, I think unless Dulgarian can clip him and put him away early, which I doubt because his striking doesn't look very good, I think Argueta's probably just going to gas pedal him outside the first round. And then when he starts bum rushing in, when Dulgarian looks for the takedown, if he gets stuffed, I think he's going to start looking pretty bad. Haven't seen the guy face any adversity. Haven't seen him being extended. So I have a feeling he is likely going to sort of struggle against adversity for the first time here. And Argueta's pretty live to get a later finish, or maybe Dulgarian can hang on towards a decision. But finish, I think, pretty likely, just since, whenever we see a guy who's got a bunch of first round wins against bums, and then the first time they get tested, it generally does not go well. Argueta's a pace machine. He'll keep the, pedal to the metal. So I've got no interest in betting Dulgarian because I think he's reliant on a first round finish, and I just don't think he finishes Argueta. So yeah, I'm looking to go pretty big on Argueta live. If I'm hoping first round's competitive, maybe Dulgarian gets some top time. And yeah, if I get an Argueta like minus 150 or better, and I expect Dulgarian to probably be looking a bit tired, and just first time going to a second round, I'm pretty happy to lay the hammer on Argueta if that's how it plays out.
Yep, live that makes sense. What about you, Evan?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Scrap said. I think that the first round will be competitive, if nothing else. I think Dulgarian is a good athlete. Obviously, he's a good wrestler. I think he will probably have some success in round one, which probably does open up a great live betting opportunity on Argueta. I don't rate Argueta at all. I don't think his striking is good, kind of like what Scrap alluded to. He doesn't know how to maintain range. He just kind of like runs at you and throws like punches and spams combos that don't really make sense. But we know that he's durable, and we know he has good cardio, and that alone will help him, compete in the UFC. And Dulgarian hasn't been out of round one, right? And he's 5-0, and he's young in his career. So I think that he might be up against a pace that he hasn't seen yet as this fight gets extended. And I think it probably does open up a good live bet opportunity. So pre-fight, if I was going to bet it, I would be on the Dulgarian side. This might be a fight where you can get plus number on both sides and just guarantee profit. But right now I'm happy with what I have staked on the card. I'm happy just to look for a live bet.
Yeah, That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm actually, I took a little shot on Dulgarian. I had the same sentiments, right? Everyone that gambles probably thinks, all these round one guys, as soon as they get out, pretty common. We've seen it all the time. Randy Costa, blah blah blah. There's a chance that this guy could be Randy Costa, or he could just be, he could run through Argueta as well, and the train keeps on going. It's hard to know. It's literally impossible to know. It's just more of a gut instinct. Like, he does have better credentials than Argueta. Like, Argueta, like, he takes people down and he kind of bullies them and breaks them with his cardio, but he's just on the way there. He's just getting dropped. He's hittable, and like everyone's already mentioned, and he's easy to take down himself, which just tells me that Dulgarian's going to get a takedown if he goes for it. And then from then on, can he survive? I was impressed with his ground and pound, how quickly he gets straight to mount. Yeah, he's fighting bums, but it's like, he's putting him out cold with GMP. It's like, he could do that to Argueta, but maybe not. I still have to tape some more fights. I really have to tape the Ricky Tercios fight. Like, Tercio he's not athletic, man. He's not positionally sound, and he still beat him. He still out-scrambled him. So we've seen someone that's just also not good at grappling, win a decision over Argueta. So if this ends up being a 3-round grapple fest, maybe Dulgarian gasses, maybe he doesn't. There's a ton of hype on him. He's been training MMA since he was like a young kid or something, and his wrestling credentials are like through the roof. And he's a blue belt. 3 years ago, I went on his Instagram. He's been a blue belt for 3 years, but yeah, he just seems like this explosive athlete. Like, yeah, it's a half unit stab to win a unit, and then, hopefully I can pan out, get out of there with a live bet, because, yeah, everyone's already mentioned it. I can see Argueta being on his back.
It is maybe worth mentioning too, like, so since the Kraus, all that shit, the Glory MMA is kind of closed. He's Dulgarian's training at Factory X right now, which is at Elevation. So we're all speculating on his cardio. He might come in with great cardio. Like, again, we don't really know. So when looking to live bet, you got to look for body language and things like that. And is his volume dropping off and what have you? Also, Argueta had shoulder surgery after the Damon Jackson fight. That fight was in June, so he had shoulder surgery in July. And shoulder surgery sucks. Like, you're immobilized for a month, and then you got to get your mobility back. So it's possible that he's not coming. We're not seeing the best version of him coming off that surgery. So it's a tough one to really predict, but we'll see.
Potentially. Who knows? I was waiting for some narratives. I do love me some narratives on the podcast. I think the biggest thing here, why Argueta is so juiced over Dulgarian, and I don't really rate Argueta either, just like yourself, is because of his good round 3 against Damon Jackson. Right? He kind of looked.
It wasn't that good. Jackson was death gas, completely dead, and Argueta was running at him, throwing combos, and had him, in some tough spots. But then Damon Jackson took him down, and he was on like life support. So
easily, yeah. I think it's just, we'll talk about Jackson later. I think it's more how he looked that made Argueta look better than he is. So a couple of things in the line, but yeah, I've taken a dog stab. We'll see how it goes. Let's move on to the next one. Alrighty. We have Alan Nascimento versus Carlos Hernandez. This is a clear pass for me. I would have taken a shot on Nascimento as a moderate favorite. I think he's got the physicality, he's got a lot of experience, good jiu-jitsu. Carlos Hernandez gets taken down a lot, even by Altamirano of all people. Does have good get-ups. It just doesn't have much power. He always fights close. He barely squeaked by his opponent on that Contender Series, and then barely squeezed by Altamirano, who I think is on the bottom level of UFC flyweights. Yeah, I still wouldn't take Nascimento out of this juiced line, like for parlays or whatever. The guy just likes to back up and occasionally throw flying knees, and he does have a lot of split losses just because he loves to scramble. Yeah, scrambling is elite, but he's just not someone. If he gets into a scrambling fight with Hernandez, it doesn't get a submission. Not someone I want to back as a massive favorite. So it's a pass fight for me. I think Nascimento's getting better, also getting bigger, surprisingly, just like everyone else in Oliveira's camp. Not saying anything, but just look into it. But yeah, pass fight for me. What do you reckon, Scrap?
Yeah, I mean, I largely agree, right? I can't say I have much interest in playing Hernandez, even though at first glance the line seems pretty wide. Reason being, like, he's a good fighter. I like Hernandez. I've bet him in like his Contender Series fight and his UFC debut, and he won both. But yeah, I think the size is just going to be a big issue for him here. He's a small flyweight. He really is lacking in physical attributes. His upside is basically going to be like a split decision here. Like the guy's just not really capable of separating and winning with big margins, just because he just can't really put much on guys. Like he's very technically clean, but just no power. Can't really put much volume on guys because he can't like overwhelm guys. Can't physically overpower guys with the grappling. So I don't have much interest in a dog shot here, although like him winning a close split decision wouldn't surprise me. I'd just rather wait to live bet it, see how the fight's playing out. If Nascimento fights optimally, he does have like the potential to cover a big favorite price tag. Not sure if it's like quite minus 400 stuff, just because Hernandez is pretty sound and not going to be easy to put away. But he's got size advantage, power advantage, grappling advantage. If he brings the IQ from the Hadley fight and he's able to get takedowns, which is probably going to be harder, to be honest. I think Hernandez has probably got better. He's probably harder to take down than Hadley. Better wrestler, I'd say, defensively, but maybe a little bit weaker. Then Nascimento obviously has big potential. Like if he can just backpack this guy and be just throwing sub attempts at him. And then on the feet, he's got an all right kicking game. Hands aren't great though, but I just don't think Hernandez has got the tools to really like punish him there. So, I mean, maybe an over or a GTD, but again, just don't really know what prices will look like there. Nascimento, no scorecards, probably safe, but going to be massively juiced. If you get the split decision props on this, could be worth a poke, but for me at this stage, all I'm doing is waiting to bet live. Just because it could either be, if Nascimento wants to stand, it could be a classic Hernandez fight, like a medium tempo kickboxing match, small margins. But if they start grappling, I think that's where the potential lies for Nascimento to kind of run away with the fight a bit. Just kind of really need to see what happens.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shit show. I was getting tempted by that line, and then I just thought, who knows how the fight's going to go, really. I'd rather just watch it like yourself and live bet it. What about you, Evan?
Yeah, nothing really to add. Same. I think Hernandez's upside is like a very, very close decision where he just kind of outpoints him, stuffs takedowns. But I think if Hernandez had some power or some finish equity, I think I'd maybe, put something, half a unit down on him pre-fight. But otherwise, not really interested. He just doesn't have any power. So I don't know. This fight sucks. I don't care about this fight.
Yep. That's fair enough. Let's move on. Next fight, Mendonca versus Basharat. Another similar line that I want to pass personally. The only thing I'll be wary about here is last time I saw Mendonca was before the Contender Series fight. He was like 21 years of age and then took a 2-year hiatus and then had a quick round 1 knockout. So I think he's improving. And we didn't really see much of his improvement. He looks bigger. He's aggressive. Has power. Not saying you should play him as a dog. He's just, I wouldn't. I don't know what to play in this fight. Basharat, I think, has potential to be ranked. I played him by decision against Gravely. Him by decision has been good. I think I played him by decision against Trevin Jones as well. A little bit of a sweat there. He rocked him. I was potentially thinking about the under here. Hopefully it's not juiced. I have this sneaking suspicion it might be juiced. Maybe the Basharat going to decision makes it a bit better. But that's about all I have. I just think the kid might look good. He's very aggressive. He's very dangerous. He's hittable, which is why I'm thinking about the under. I think Basharat can bust him up. Nothing I've played at the moment. What do you reckon, Scrap?
Yeah, I agree. Mendonca kind of just hard to get a read on when these dudes are fighting Brazilian regionals, right? Like level of comp's just so bad. And he hasn't fought anyone like close to Basharat's levels with the tools that he has. When Basharat first came on the Contender Series, I was just like, oh, this guy has kind of like the makings of potentially being a fraud, with his record and level of comp, and karate guys often can be a bit sus. But clearly the real deal, cleaned up that fraud on Contender Series, and I bet him by decision over Gravely as well. And he just absolutely tooled Trevin Jones. I think he's a really good fighter, to be honest. Big question mark is probably just the grappling, right? Like striking wise, Mendonca can probably hang, but he's just ultimately going to be outmatched, I think, by Basharat's like speed and length, and he's probably just a little bit better, right? I think Bash probably hits a little bit harder as well. He's a pretty sharp striker. So I'd expect him to use his length to probably just outpoint from the outside when those minutes there. And then, yeah, I just feel like Mendonca's probably a bit KO or bust here, and I'm not really interested in backing any of these contender series guys in the UFC debuts, especially coming off like a sub 1 minute knockout against a guy who just looked like the chinniest human to ever step foot in a cage. So yeah, it's probably a question of Bash decision or inside the distance. You know, if I have a feeling KO is probably going to be more favored than sub, and like I reckon Mateus could look pretty sus on the ground. It's just the way it is with these like Brazilian strikers who come up through the regionals. They're often pretty useless on the mat. And Basharat's got a pretty good grappling game when he decides to go to it. So I could be interested in sub. I think the under's not bad that you mentioned, but yeah, again, just hard to say without any more prices out. But if there's a big wide sub line, I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, I think Mendonca seems like when I watched his earlier tape, he seems like a jiu-jitsu guy. He keeps going for takedowns, and he just kind of developed that aggressive striking game later on. He just keeps like jumping for guillotines and getting people's back and stuff. But I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if it's an astronomical price, I can't fault it. What about you, Evan? You want to close this out?
Yeah, no, nothing really much to add. I like Basharat a lot. I had him. I bet him just money line over Gravely. And the guy's fighting. I mean, I watched his contender series fight. It lasted about a minute. The one thing I'll say is he throws hard. You know, even his front kicks, like he's throwing these things to do damage. And Basharat has a lot of things going for him. He's good, very well-rounded, good grappler, great cardio, good striker, controls range well. He seems to be a little hittable, though. He doesn't move his head a ton. So I wouldn't be shocked if he got buzzed with something early. So, I mean, I won't be betting Basharat. I won't be parlaying him and, you know, any of that stupid shit. So I would lean in under here, too. I don't know. I think that these guys are going to be hitting each other pretty hard. So,
yep, we all agree. Yeah, that Mendonca, he throws as hard as he can, man. That guy just loads up with everything. So hopefully his aggression helps with the under if the price is good. Okay, next fight. Now this fight, I think we can all agree is just the all-around pass. Rebecki versus Nick Flores, no tape. You know, jiu-jitsu, Gracie black belt. Just finished everyone. I think Rebecki absolutely finishes him. Unplayable line. I would wait for the under 2.5, maybe even under 1.5. Hopefully it's not juiced. I would play it up to minus 200. Does anyone have any opinions on this fight personally?
Pass.
Same?
Nah.
Cap?
Yeah, no thoughts.
All right, let's take some time then. On to the next one. So we have Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Claudio Ribeiro. I'll let you take it away, Evan.
Look, I watched Ribeiro's contender series fight. Obviously, the guy hits hard, but I think he sucks. Like, chin is straight up in the air. He throws from his waist. But he's fighting Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Hard to... I'm not... I think Al Hassan should probably be a bigger favorite. I just don't really want to bet him. This is like a great unders fight. It'll probably be lined 1.5 though, and that doesn't go the distance. It'll probably be super juiced. That's all I really got. No strong convictions. I think Abdul Razak Al Hassan is the side though.
Fair enough. What about you, Scrap?
Yeah, I agree. So Razak's my only bet that I have so far. So I'm going to bet on his money line. Yeah, I mean, Ribeiro, I think he's just a bum with power, if I'm honest. Like Evan said, like he hits hard, but like the only reason he hits hard is because every punch he swings from his waist with his chin in the air, right? And he's just fought abysmal level of competition, you know, just kind of swung with the dude on contenders and put him out. Don't really glean too much from that. On the other side, Razak, he's obviously not the most trustworthy guy, right? But I think since we saw him move to elevation and that Buckley fight, I thought we saw some big improvements there, right? Obviously, the cardio is probably always going to be a bit of an issue, just the way he's built. But I thought his cardio looked a lot better in that Buckley fight. It was pretty high pace, and he was having to grapple a lot, having to defend takedowns and get up. So personally, I think he looked pretty good there. So I think he's the side, And in terms of the striking, yeah, Ribeiro hits hard, but Razak's defense, when he's not getting, flustered and just deciding to swing with people, his striking's pretty good. It's pretty technically sound. He keeps a nice high guard defensively. And for me, like, the thing he is in the back pocket here is like, and I don't expect it to be his primary game plan because it never is, but massive grappling upside. Because Ribeiro gets pushed on the cage by anyone who wants to try. The guy looks very physically weak. He can be held on the fence for just long periods of time by bums on the Brazilian regionals. Looks very easy to take down. Doesn't have much to offer off his back. And even when he was completely gassed in the third round versus Buckley, we saw Razak get on top and rack up some control time there. I was on Buckley in that fight, and I remember like a bit of a sigh of relief at the decision because I thought it had the potential to be a sketchy split or something for Razak. So, I mean, I don't expect him to grapple primarily because it's just not what he does. But it is something in his back pocket, and I do think he has that upside here to really like dominate the fight. Ribeiro's winning is probably just him getting Razak to swing with him and hitting him with a heinous looking hook that comes from his back pocket or something like that. But yeah, for me it's clearly Razak. I think he should be more like 60 to 65% to win this, just based on superior technique, level of competition. He's been pretty durable apart from getting put out by a flush head kick. And Ribeiro doesn't really do anything well except swing world star punches for dudes' heads. Never goes to the body, doesn't have much of a kicking game. So, and yeah, defensive grappling looks pretty terrible, if I'm honest. So yeah, Razak for me.
Fair. I don't have any conviction in this fight. The only thing is, any players actually. I would lean personally Ribeiro, but that's just, Hassan at middleweight, 37 years of age. I've watched all his old fights with Habasi, and he got rocked in both of them just when he brawls. I just think Ribeiro's more fluid. He reminds me of Salvador, the other guy that wings from his hips from Contender Series, the other Brazilian. They just have a style that works. They got fast hands. They just throw it. Their chin's always up. But I think Hassan just is a bit more stiff, a bit more rigid. He pressures forward. Yeah, and Ribeiro can fight on the back foot. I think he can back up, maybe land the 1-2. Yeah, just a bit of a reach advantage, faster, younger. Yeah, but no commitment from me. I wouldn't. If he maybe people listen to the podcast and just smash Razak, maybe I'll put a little something on Ribeiro. But yeah, other than that, nothing. I don't even know about the unders. I've got a weird feeling about the unders, with Hassan being durable. I've never seen Ribeiro hurt in 7 fights. He might get held up against the cage. I can see it going longer. Both guys getting tired. I wouldn't even be too comfortable with like a juiced under either. So who knows? It's probably a all-around pass fight for me. Maybe a live bet. Because if Hassan gets a little bit tired, he was absolutely dead in that round 2 against Buckley. He just gave that round up and then seemed to get a second win in the third when Buckley was dead. Maybe a live bet. Ribeiro carries his power late, but yeah, nothing at the moment for me. Let's move on to the main card and a very high-level fight. Probably one of my favorite fights on the card. Nurmagamedov V Barcelos. This is the only fight that I haven't actually taped anything for, even though I know these guys quite well. So I'll let Evan take it away because I know he has a 10-unit max bet on Uma.
No, not this guy. Great fight, high-level fight, like you said. 2 guys, very talented, tremendous grapplers. The line is just outrageous. I mean, I definitely am picking Nurmagomedov to win. I just think he's got a little more in the tank right now. I think I would give him the wrestling advantage. I think he's fine on the feet. But I'm not playing that number. You got to pay the Nurmagomedov tax, like minus 550. It's just not a playable line. Like maybe if you want to play him by decision, Umar's not a great finisher, and Barcelos is talented and fairly durable, and he'll stay safe on the mat. So like maybe Nurmagomedov by decision if you really want action on the fight. That's kind of what my prediction would be. I think he probably just wins 2 rounds with a lot of control time. He's pretty reliable to do what he does, which is wrestle and just kind of stay on the outside on the feet and throw kicks. Doesn't really put himself in harm's way. So I think Nurmagomedov wins a decision here. But I mean, the line is just crazy. So just a pass fight for me, but it should be a good fight.
Yeah. Close this off. Scrap. What do you reckon?
Yeah, not too much to add. I mean, the line probably is a bit nuts, but at the same time, I don't have enough conviction on the Barcelos side to get involved. I think just stylistically, it's a really tough one for him. On the feet, Umar's probably going to win minutes at kicking range. He's got a pretty nice kicking game. And then if Barcelos is able to close distance to where he can start to box with him, I'd expect Umar to probably shoot. And then Barcelos is going to have to defensively grapple. Cardio's not looking as good as it used to nowadays. I think Umar's just the real deal. I don't think he's running through Barcelos or anything like that, but I think chances are Raoni just gives up too much control time, has to spend too much time defending the grappling. Even if Umar's not, out grappling the life of him, Barcelos is just going to be forced to spend too much time defensively grappling. And then if Umar is able to get the back takes, then there's a good chance that that's the round wrapped up for him. So personally, I'd be looking at Umar decision or maybe an over or goes the distance. The only price that's out now on 5 dimes isn't great. I probably wouldn't play there. But usually a FanDuel or something will give you a better price. So see where that lands. But otherwise, Umar decision better than -150 probably be a play for me.
Yeah, it seems like you two agree on that. No, it's probably where I'm going to go without even taping it. I just thought it seems like an outrageous line, but I'm probably not going to like a bet on Raoni. He's lost to people worse than Umar. He's a bit old now and he's got his disadvantages with the volume and hitability and whatnot. Just not throwing occasionally.
It's one of those plus 380s that should maybe be like a plus 250. So
yeah,
maybe a bit wide, but you're not getting like a crazy edge or anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's just the best guy Umar's ever fought, maybe on par with Kakramanov in PFL, and people are just like, oh, it's a crazy line for someone as good as Barcelos, but still loses. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I'll report back after the tape, but we'll see. Pass fight for now. All right, Ketlen Viera versus Raquel Pennington, people's main event. So I hear. I'll take this one away. I slightly lean with Ketlen. I just think she's the more technical striker. I actually really rate her boxing. When she lets her hands go, she sits on her punches. She's got the big clobbering hooks. She was lighting up Aldana on the back foot, and then Aldana just caught her with her best weapon, which is that check hook, knocked her out. You could essentially say that's her only proper loss. I rewatched the Yana Kunitskaya fight again. Clear 1-1 going into the third. Took Yana down and was on top for literally 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And then Yana reversed her, landed one elbow, cut her up. And the judges all unanimously thought, yep, that's the third round for Yana. Because the 4 minutes and 30 seconds didn't count for anything of control time. So the girl could potentially be, what is she now? 14-1. And, fighting much better opponents. Holly Holm, Misha Tate, 5-rounders. She's 31. I think she's improving. She's got a bit of a situation with the cardio and a little bit hittable. Eubanks was cracking her. Tate was cracking her a little bit. But when she's got good coaches, Padaneris. When Padaneris tells her to, just calm down, don't grapple, just strike, she listens to him. Obviously, grappling and gasses her out. Extensive grappling. Yeah, I just think Pennington, she's been a money train for me. I played her against Ladd and Chiason and, all those girls having Penny as well at Pick'em. But all those girls have a bit of flakiness to them. Right, and she's still, 29-28 with Ladd. Dropped the third round to Ladd unanimously, and she's gone to split with Penny, who actually out-clinched her in her own game in round 1. And, Penny had to actually sit down on her punches and win with harder shots. I guess you can do that here to Viera, but, yeah, like I said, Viera can fight on the back foot, much better boxing. I think if Pennington, she can't help it. She just clinches up with every single person she fights. Even with Aspen Ladd, Aspen Ladd path was the grappling, and Penny just had to grapple her straight away. If she does that, I think she's live to get judo throwed by Viera. I know Viera was held up against the cage by quite a bit by Holm, but I think Holm's a lot better at that, ironically, even though she's kickboxed. I mean, she won over Pennington twice by just holding her up against the cage. She's a lot more physical. She's still got judo throwed a couple times by Viera, so yeah, I don't know how much value there is on Viera. I could maybe cap her as a slight favorite, only because I don't see finishing Penny and maybe Penny having slightly better cardio. And if Penny's smart, which I think she is, she can realize that she's losing and she can just go forward a bit more, sit on her punches a bit more. She's really good at gritting out the fight and, fighting turning it up when she knows she needs a win or needs a finish, which at some point it can get a little bit sweaty because, Viera has lost rounds to Yana and Eubanks, and she does slow down. So, yeah, I think, I favor Viera. I just haven't played it. I just think she's a little step up above Pennington and still improving. But, yeah, pass at the moment for me. Maybe a little bit of money comes in on Pennington and Viera becomes a slight dog. I could take a little half-unit shot. But, yeah, nothing at the moment. What do you reckon, Evan?
Yeah, man, I kind of agree with you, and I don't hate this fight. I know Scrap kind of hates this fight. Ketlen Viera, I like her to a degree. I mean, I bet her over Holly Holm, and I do think she was deserving of that decision. I'm not a big numbers guy, but a fight that's this close, I do think there is some merit in looking at their striking metrics. And why I'm not betting Viera, and I might, if I can get plus 120 on Viera, I might just put something small on that. I lean her to win the fight, but Pennington's got better striking numbers. She lands more volume and she gets hit less. I also don't know, though, that this fight's really going to play out much at range because, like you said, Pennington always works in the clinch, and it's a small cage, and it's not like these girls have really nuanced footwork. Like, they don't really move laterally. They're just going to be running into each other, and I think there's going to be a lot of clinching. So I think it goes to a decision, probably. It could be a scenario. I think it could be similar to like the Holm fight where Holm lands a little bit more volume, but Viera is landing the more pronounced strikes, like in the eyes of the judges. And then like there's a lot of cage push. I do think that Viera will be difficult to hold up against the cage. I think Viera can turn her, but I don't really trust Viera to disengage in those scenarios either. So I think they could just be exchanging positions along the fence. Maybe the ref steps in to break them up, and then they, box a little bit, outside leg kick, and next thing you know, they're back on the cage. So I lean overs. I think it's going to be a close fight. This might be one of those fights where you bet ends in split decision plus 380 or something. I think it plays out close, but I do slightly lean Viera, and if I can get plus money, maybe I'll bet it, but that's my take.
Yep. I can see a 29, 28 either way. What about you, Scrap?
Yeah, pass. I don't like anything here. maybe goes a distance. I could see it end up looking like an 80% implied or something like that. But I mean, maybe a few years ago I would have been interested in Rocky, but Ketlen's striking's improved, and yeah, just how like clinch happy Rocky is, and she's so unaware of it as well. I think it was the lad fight when afterwards she's like, oh, I just wanted to fight, but she just wanted to hug me when she was the one initiating clinches the whole fight. So just like doesn't really bode well, like if she's losing in the grappling or Ketlen's the one pushing her up against the fence, she'll just probably keep clinching. I don't think she kind of has the ability to just be like, nah, I'm just going to anti-grapple and box at range. She just can't help herself but clinch. So yeah, that's enough. Even though like a few years ago I would have said she would have had the better striking and she has the get-ups to, get it back standing if she does end up on her back. Now, being a bit older, Ketlen's striking improvements and just Rocky kind of only being able to fight one fight just makes it a pass for me. But I do think it's going to be super close, so that's why I don't see any value on the line. But also because it's super close, because I don't think either one is going to be able to do too much to each other. I think goes a distance could actually be value.
Rocky just got married too, to Tisha Torres, and they're expecting a kid, or they had a kid. So congrats to Rocky on being, a first-time dad. I know Steve likes narratives, so just figured I'd throw that in there. 37 years old. Who knows where her head's at?
What's the narrative? Don't dads have good records in the UFC?
Maybe. I'd have to, let me Google it.
Come on, mate. I expect you to come in with receipts if you bring me narratives. It's the Big Brain podcast, mate. It's not the speculation podcast.
True.
Free Ukraine says, how did they have a kid? That's a good question, mate.
It's called science, Chad.
We'll have to look into it. Some more tape study to be done. First, I have to polish off the OnlyFans, Sejaro's OnlyFans, and then when I'm done, I'll move on to Pennington. Alrighty. Next fight on the card, Punahele Soriano, Roman Kopylov. I'll let you take this one away, Scrap.
Yeah, I guess kind of interesting in some ways. In other ways, a bit of a bum fight. At this stage, I don't have any action, right? I do think that it is Puna or pass pre-fight. Reason being that I think he's should be winning round 1 and probably quite live to finish as well early. So I'd expect live after a round. Puna's probably a fair bit of a bigger favourite than he is currently. So, I mean, for that reason, if anyone is betting Puna pre-fight, then, I can't knock it. Kopylov's win condition is probably Puna gassing out and then winning like the last 7 minutes and getting a split or something like that. So, yeah, honestly, I can't really fault anyone playing Puna. Line's kind of moving around a bit, so I might get involved if it gets to the right price. But yeah, Kopylov, just terrible fighter, not UFC level. He's a bit of a cuck, he just kind of sits there and lets dudes beat him up. He's gassy. He gasses out doing nothing, which is pretty strange. At least Puna gasses out as well, but it's because he's chucking like full power fastballs from his waist. So at least you can kind of understand why he might get tired. But yeah, just two pretty awful fighters, honestly. But I do think Puna warrants being a fave here just because he's going to win that first round at a pretty good clip, in my opinion. The danger is just kind of like how fast does he fade. One of the better matchups for him, though, because Kopylov doesn't push a pace or anything. So I could see Puna picking up 2 rounds if he doesn't get the finish, and then gassing out third round, maybe Kopylov, maybe close, something like that. But I just don't see anything from either guy that makes me super passionate. So Puna KO decision, maybe a good angle. You might get down to like a minus 130 or something like that on that line, so that could be interesting. And then, you can always buy your weight out on the other side live. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
All right, not a fan of Kopylov. What do you reckon, Evan?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Roman Kopylov absolutely sucks. I don't think he's UFC level at all. He fights kind of like he's in a youth Sambo tournament, just kind of like circles on the outside, throws some, he's got decent technical striking, but doesn't really have power, doesn't push a pace. And like what Scrap said, he gasses out for no reason. I mean, I played him over D. Carrico, and I was very happy to cash that ticket. He knocked him out early in the 3rd round. But at the end of the 2nd round, Kopylov had his hands like on his hips. Like he was, I don't know. His cardio is really bad. I actually hope this goes to a 3rd round because we might see the 2 most tired people on the planet trying to fight each other. I think it would make for a really good TV. I do think Puna's the side. At minus 140, I might get involved, something like that. So let's see if there's. I don't know why people are betting Kopylov. You see plus money, fine, I get it, but he just won by knockout. This might be the best sell high spot on Kopylov because I'm convinced he's not UFC level. I think he's really, really bad. I mean, he got out grappled and submitted by Carl Roberson. The guy absolutely sucks. Like I don't really know what he does well. But again, it's Puna. So it's like, do I want to bet Puna as a moderate favorite? Not really. But like I said, if money keeps coming in on Kopylov, I might get involved, like minus 140. Like when Puna gasses, like to your point, Scrap, he gasses and it makes sense. The guy throws absolute bombs, throws haymakers. You can see how that's tiring. I don't know why Kopylov gasses. So I think it is a really good fight for Puna. We'll see what happens with the line.
Nice. Looks like I'm on the other side of both of you. I don't know. I don't hate Kopylov as much as the two of you. I think he's potentially a UFC level. Yeah, I also played him against Chirico, and then taping that, I didn't know why he really got tired, which is a bit concerning because when you watch his regional tape, he goes into round 4 and 5 all the time, and then he finishes his opponents. Obviously, he starts very slow, and he's conserving his energy, which is what I think cost him in the Robertson fight. Every time I tape that Robertson fight, something's weird about it. And then, I noticed he comes on a bit more stronger in his last 2 against Duraev. Dropped him in the 2nd. I think he's just adjusting, going from title fights and in UFC. It's set a year off after the Robertson fight and fighting Duraev. I honestly thought he was a bit unlucky not to beat Duraev. Round 1 was very close. Dropped him in the 2nd. Obviously, got 10-8'd there. And I also thought he'd probably run round 3. He was still stuffing his takedowns. So a little bit unlucky. And yeah, Chirico, when I bet Chirico at Kopylov, I was maybe nervous that Chirico was going to crack him with some overhands. And I really thought his distance management was good at the start. And then round 2, all of a sudden, Chirico started landing everything. And I was like, oh no, when you're counting your money and then round 2 is just a complete different fight. And then round 3 came out and got a second win and just put him away, which was good. But yeah, I checked the scorecards. 2 judges had him 2-0 up, so that's good, I guess. Yeah, I just think Puna, like, I can't really trust Puna as a favorite ever. You know, just you got 30-27 in a 3-round striking fight by Allen. Like, that's never to be trusted ever again. If he, goes for takedowns, I think he's going to gas himself out a bit. If he doesn't knock out Kopylov, Kopilov's got really good combinations when he actually lets go. He works the body. He's got a great body kick. That was his best weapon against Chirico. And like we see in round 3, like when he actually lets go, he's on fire. He's got good hands. He just needs to throw a bit more. But I wouldn't mind if he stayed patient in round 1 against Puna, because I think Puna's best chance here is a round 1 KO with that overhand. Maybe round 2. We've seen him go conserve his energy in round 1 against Dalcha and then knock him out in round 2. But these are my favorite guys to fade. Guys that don't have the cardio for 3. So sometimes they come out super aggressive, and other times they come out super slow. And either way, they're losing. Like they don't know what their game plan is. And yeah, I'm tossing up between actually playing Kopylov, probably not actually, sprinkling a decision, or just waiting for live bet. After maybe gets tired a little bit. I played Allen by decision in their first fight live bet after round 1. I saw him take a couple of big left hands, and I saw he could take him. I was like, all right, he's going to run away with this. So maybe do the same thing. But yeah, it's a little bit of a concern, how tired it gets. And yeah, obviously, Soriano just closed the distance quite quick. He still landed big shots on Allen in round 3, which Allen somehow ate. I still believe Allen's quite chinny, and he just ate that. I think sometimes when fighters are on and they see everything coming and they're comfortable, their chin miraculously gets better as well. Other times when you catch him by surprise, it gets sparked nice and early. But yeah, it's a dog or pass for me. I could never trust Puna at this price. He's only favorite because, I don't know, he's got power. So yeah, I'm tossing up maybe a sprinkle of decision play on Kopylov, or maybe a decision. But yeah, I understand why money's coming in on him. Better striking. He's got good takedown defense as well. But yeah, dog or pass for me. I haven't played it yet. I'm just tossing up between live bet or decision sprinkle. And hopefully, it doesn't make me look like a fool. But yeah, I can completely see him getting sparked here.
Now I know why Martian called you Little Steve with analysis like that.
Right.
Martian's a dork.
No hate on this podcast, mate. Keep it in your private life.
All right.
Oh, we got some comments. What do we got? Long COVID, apparently. Here's the excuse for his random cardio. Puna fade train. I agree. Fade Puna. Chances Puna wrestles. He didn't wrestle once against Allen when he was getting lit up, but he chose to come out wrestle heavy against Dalcha, and he couldn't take him down. It's weird. Like, surely you have better striking than Dalcha. Just an untrustworthy guy. Low or super low? I don't know. After seeing that Dalcha fight, probably super low because he's fighting a kickboxer. He's always his brain always works backwards. All right, co-main event. I'm gonna let you take this one away, Evan. Ige versus Damon Jackson.
Good fight, man. I like Dan Ige. And it's interesting. I bet him at plus 102. I was looking at that opening line like plus 140. It was hanging around there, and like I said, the limits were fine. I don't know why, if that was an error on Bet Online's part, but and I remember I was talking to Pepe, and he was like, money started coming in on Ige. It was like plus 125, and he was like, "Is this the best we're gonna get on Ige?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know. Because I kind of felt like I'm on the contrarian side here. I know Damon Jackson has a lot of supporters. He's come through as a big underdog before. And Damon Jackson's a good fighter. So I don't know. I kind of am I agree with the Ige money, but I'm shocked by it at the same time. Like, I didn't expect the line to flip this quick. So I did end up playing him at plus 102 for 2 units. I think my take on the fight is, I think it plays out close, but I think Ige has all the finishing upside. I'm also going to look at a no scorecards, like a finish only prop for Ige. Hopefully that's playable. Ige has some power in his hands, and I don't think that Damon Jackson's striking is good at all. Pretty uncoordinated, very hittable. He's been chinned multiple times, and Ige's very durable. Like that knee that he ate from Movsar Evloev in the first round, that would kill some people, and he, stood up to that knee. So I like his power advantage, his durability advantage. And Damon Jackson, his archetype is kind of like a grapple heavy, good wrestler on paper, good wrestling credentials. and he can push a decent pace, but his cardio looked really bad against Argueta, and that's a fight that he was largely in control of. So yeah, I like Dan Ige here, man. I think he's going to land some big shots on the feet. And in the grappling, like, sure, Damon Jackson could get a body lock, could take him down. I thought Dan Ige scrambled really well against Mirsad Bektic. Not so much against Evloev, but I don't think Jackson's on that level. So I think if Ige does get taken down, I think he can scramble up, work up. And I wouldn't be shocked if Ige, finds his way on top here. Ige can wrestle. He can get on top. I haven't been that impressed with Jackson's wrestling inside of the octagon. I know he's got these wrestling credentials and everything, but so I don't know. I think for Jackson to win here, he needs a lot of top time, or he needs a backpack. He needs to win 2 rounds with control, and it's possible, but I'm willing to bet that Ige can stay out of those control positions and kind of beat him up on the feet. That's my take.
Yep, I agree with a lot of stuff that you said, man. I was leaning Ige as well, but I was hoping that I would get an underdog price. Just Ige being on a massive losing streak. Some red flags with, Chung Song Jung and Evloev. Oh, surprisingly, he did better against Evloev and Emmett than against Jung. I think that was just well-timed takedowns, straight to the back. Zombie was very, relaxed in there. He just knew he couldn't. He got cracked once, and he's like, I'm going to grapple this guy. But, yeah, Ige is a bit weird, man. He's, sometimes he's doing well. I mean, in terms of pure grappling, I thought he did much better against Mirsad Bektic than Jackson, who was literally getting ragdolled and, fishing for one guillotine over and over again. Yeah, that wasn't short notice. I actually cashed him there. I do love Jackson. I've cashed him so many times, but I would personally only play him as a dog, unless it's Charles Rosa, which I hammered as a favorite there, but that's a completely different person. I think he's had a bit of a really low level of competition in the UFC, even though I do rate him. I think he's underrated. He's fought better competition on the regionals, personally. He's Kevin Aguilar in his prime and some good fighters. And then, Charles Rosa, Kamala Kirk, Daniel Argueta on short notice. And Sabatini, a lot of people I rate him too, but I faded Sabatini there. I think Sabatini has some flaky tendencies as well, the chin potentially. I think someone like Ige, who hits hard and is a lot more athletic and has a grappling background himself, black belt, solid physicality. I think that's going to be a problem for Damon Jackson. Like you said, all the finishing is on Ige's side. I think he's heavy-handed. He hurt Emmett, who's very durable. He's just going to fight for your money. Yeah, the red flags are there. Jackson's going to try and backpack him, and he might be successful in one or a couple of rounds. But we've seen round 3, like we mentioned with Argueta, anytime this fight is standing, he seems fragile. His punching defense is horrendous, right? And that's all the way on his regionals. It's not just a couple of fights. It's not just Ilya Topuria. Ige will fight for your money. He'll be there for 3 rounds. He'll throw. Might get taken down, might get backpacked, but he's going to scramble out. We will be training for that here. Maybe he wasn't training for that against Zombie. I don't know, just speculation. But yeah, I like Ige. I'm jumping ship from Jackson. It's just, I pick him. I don't know. Maybe I see him as a slight favorite. I will have to do some more tape on this one. I actually did tape quite a bit of it at the start, but it was more than a week ago, and it's kind of blurry now. I have to retape it because I honestly thought Ige was going to open up as a dog. And then when I opened up as pick him, I just kind of lost any interest. What do you cap him at, Evan? Just out of curiosity.
So what's he? He's sitting right now at minus 133. I think that's kind of where I would put him, minus 135 in that ballpark.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I guess Pickham still has some value. I'll have to look into it some more because I think it's going to be a close fight unless Ige gets a KO. But yeah, I think he's live rounds 1, 2, or 3 to hurt Jackson. Because I don't think he's getting finished. What about you, Scrap? Finish this off, mate.
Yeah, pretty interesting fight. I agree with what you guys said, mostly in terms of, the analysis of the fight. I thought if you wanted to get on Ige, the early lines when he was a slight dog and then pick him, was fine. I wouldn't be betting him now that he's out to around this minus 130 mark because I just, I don't see him covering sort of your 60-65% mark here, just because he's going to have to spend, unless he's obviously KOing him, he's going to have to spend a lot of time probably grappling defensively. And like you guys alluded to, his defensive grappling has looked a bit sus lately, albeit against, better opponents, especially Evloev. The zombie fight, though, really bad look. I've seen some people be like, oh, he just wasn't expecting Zombie to wrestle. And I'm like, man, you still just got so soundly out-grappled by a dude with one arm. Like, it's just a really bad look. His get-ups are terrible, honestly. The thing is, Zombie was shooting some nice doubles. Damon's just like a body lock guy. So I probably actually need to go back, do a bit more tape, and see if I can figure out whether I think Jackson's takedowns will work on Ige, or if he can get the back. Obviously we've seen Ige being backpacked a bunch. Damon's a pretty decent back taker. He knows how to get to the back and, control guys there. And Ige's he's just such a turtle. He's just like, I'd be willing to bet, like, out of all the times he's kind of like found himself on bottom, like, the percentage of times where he like escapes or actually gets up before the round ends is going to be like super low. The guy just gets stuck and controlled very easily. So for me, at the current lines, I would play Damon. But that being said, I would rather have a smaller bet on Damon by decision than on his money line, just because I'm very skeptical he finishes Ige. And I don't want to risk too much because he is pretty live to get KO'd on the feet. So yeah, I think Damon by decision, Ige KO, and Ige no scorecards are probably how I'd be interested in playing it. But the line seems to still be moving, so see where it settles, and again, wait for those props to open up everywhere else.
Yeah, hopefully that no scorecards is good. Who knows? Maybe it's like the Buckley, the Curtis one. After a couple of decisions, by Curtis, and a couple of finishes by Damon Jackson, maybe they think Jackson has all the finishing upside after finishing, Sabatini.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, recency bias could get us a good line there.
And if you look at Jackson's record, man, he's like 90% finish rate, so it's possible. You never know, but even though like $1.60, what is that, minus 140? I'll play that. It's like moderate favorite on. I just don't think.
I would definitely play that.
Yeah,
only prop at that line. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and if Jackson comes out super aggressive looking for a finish on Ige, I think that's just going to get himself finished personally, because he doesn't have the chin for a war. Every time he swings and bangs, he gets cracked with something. Jackson sub, I will be honestly shocked, mate, at this if Jackson sub Dan Ige. He's had a lot of control time. All right, let's move on. Just over an hour, not too bad. Main event. I'll finish off with this one. First fight I taped, obviously due to being the only line out for a while now. Kevin Gastelum, Nasruddin Imavov. I agree with the consensus. Well, maybe not the consensus, because now the lines moved even more in Imavov's favor, but some of the sharp people saying that there's value in Gastelum. I mean, you would have to say there is. It's probably the best guy Imavov has fought in the UFC. Not probably, no doubt. I mean, he's debuted against a diabetic Jordan Williams in his bad weight class, a weight class where Mickey Gall finished him. Had a war there at short notice. Lost to Phil Hawes, Red Flag City. Finished Ian Heinisch, which kind of impressed me, surprised me. Finished Edmund Shabazian after some adversity, which again, Edmund Shabazian, if he makes it into round 2, always live to flake. And, beat Joaquin Buckley, which his best win in the UFC. It's not really saying much because, I think still conclude that Buckley's chinny. He's just, I'm not saying he's not good. I do actually rate Imavov's skill set. Really nice striking when he lets his hands go. I like his pull counters, in and out movement. Obviously fights a lot like his teammate Garn. I like that he can mix in wrestling. He's got a good front headlock series. I don't think his cardio is that bad. I definitely think fighting in France and just coming out like an idiot, like a hothead against Buckley, had a bit of an adrenaline dump. And even then, Buckley was just going for the finish, and all the shots that Imavov took with his hands low, he was kind of rolling with it. He was still there. I like his defense, not in the old classical sense that his hands are always up, but I like his distance management, rolling with the punches. His chin seems to be solid as well. But yeah, he's just, going 5 rounds against Gastelum, who, it's hard to trust him with your money, right? Ever since he's lost that fight with Adesanya, he's never been the same. Even before that, you look at his run, lost to Chris Weidman, fought a bunch of old guys, Kennedy and Vitor, Bisbin. split decision to Souza. That should have been the first red flag. I remember having money on him there, and just he was losing a striking fight with Cachoera, right? Just because he kept getting hit. Luckily, his shin is made out of concrete. But yeah, he almost lost that split, even though he was standing for 2 out of 3 rounds with Cachoera. So yeah, just not much head movement. Just the boxing, essentially just boxing and nothing else. Occasionally mixes in wrestling. He's never held anyone down. Had a couple of takedowns on Till in round 3. Couldn't hold him down for more than a second. Getting heel hooked by Jack Manson, massive red flag. Yeah, the only guy who's really had a solid winner is Ian Heinisch. Robert Whittaker, a little bit impressive. He didn't get the shit kicked out of him as much as other opponents did, for what it's worth. And Robert had to wrestle a little bit just to differentiate himself from Kelvin, because Kelvin was landing some combinations. But yeah, the Jared fight, I live bet him there. I thought I was a little bit robbed. I think Jared was lucky to get a few big moments there to steal rounds. Kelvin had good volume there. It's probably the best fight he's had in a while. And now I think he's training at Fight Ready. So yeah, all the value is with Kelvin here. I think Imavov might be improving as well. If anything, I'll look at the over here. If it's the same price as Imavov, maybe live bet Kevin. If Imavov does show some cardio issues again, but he has been held up against the cage. It's how he lost to Holes. If Gastelum does that, has some good combinations, holds him up against the cage, it should be closer. I don't see Imavov, finishing him. He'll be the first person to do it by KO anyway. Yeah, all the values in Gastelum. It's just hard to trust the guy, with his skill set, and yeah, I think Imavov has the better skill set. This is the best guy he's fighting. It's a bit of a step up. I saw someone say the distance is minus 200. That just blew my mind. I don't know if that's accurate. Maybe someone can confirm. A 5-round, I did not expect that from a 5-round fight. I was expecting over 2.5 to be minus 200, which I would have played.
Minus 185.
See how that's pretty sad. A little bit better. The bookies are all over it. Yeah, that's disappointing. But yeah, dog or pass for me. No play at the moment. What do you reckon, Scrap?
Yeah, definitely dog or pass. But for me, I'm waiting for live. Like, Gastelum has all the tools to win. And, there's some big red flags on the Imavov side, just mainly around his cardio, And then, Gastelum's durable. He's got the speed to sort of compete on the feet. He can get in and out on Imavov, I think. Southpaw, and then he's got the grappling, although we haven't seen much of that grappling in his recent fights. So it's like he has these tools to win the fight, but it's hard to trust him to use them, especially from the get-go. Like, you've got to think there's a pretty good chance he's losing at least the first round, possibly the first 2. But then there's the whole fight ready factor, right? He's finally moved to a decent gym. He's not training in his friggin' garage with his girlfriend doing his S&C and whatnot. So you'd like to think you're probably getting the best version of him here. But even considering all that, it's not enough for me to really want to get involved pre-fight. I think first round, Imavov's probably getting off first in the striking, probably lands a few sharp shots, and he goes out to at least minus 250, or could easily get out to a minus 300, Gastelum generally doesn't start off very well, and he's like to drop the ball early, like we saw against Hermanson. So I think he probably needs at least a round and a half before he can probably start making his way into the fight. But obviously, with what we saw with Imavov's cardio versus Buckley, Gastelum's got the potential to take over in a big way down the stretch if he does the right things, mixes in some grappling, makes Imavov work hard. So yeah, I'm pretty interested in getting on Gastelum live, but I just think we're almost guaranteed to get a better price live. And worst case scenario, Gastelum somehow does well and the price on Gastelum gets worse, then whatever, I'll bite the bullet and pay a worse price if he happens to be able to fight a good game plan that has him winning the fight from the jump.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. While you were talking, I just realized that first round against Buckley was really close. And Buckley essentially threw it away by rushing in for a takedown. With the last 20 seconds, it ended up on the bottom mount. And against Jordan Williams, he won the fight with wrestling, with grappling Imavov. So even though his striking is good, he doesn't really differentiate himself. He doesn't stand out. So can he grapple Kevin Gastelum? I mean, I didn't like how easily what's his name? Whittaker was taking down Gastelum and controlling him on the ground. But then after that, he kind of started to stuff some of the takedowns. Yeah, I just think Gastelum's takedown defense is going to have him covered here, and then he just has to strike with him. And Yeah, who does he look good in striking department against? Only Hawes. Only when he cracked Hawes in round 3. That's about it in all these fights. What do you have to add, Evan? Then we'll finish it up.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what you guys are saying. I think it's a pass pre-fight. I think if I was gun to my head, gonna bet somebody right now would be Gastelum. But I like Imavov. I really do rate his skill set. But I don't like his cardio. The round 3 against Buckley was a horrible look. And that's a fight that he was pretty much in control of for the most part. I mean, he had a dominant round 2, and then he's completely dead in round 3. It's a 5-round fight. If this was a 3-round fight, I think Imavov would be the side here, because I think Gastelum is outmatched early. I'd be shocked if Gastelum took round 1, So I do think you'll get a better price on Gastelum live because he's just so much smaller, man. Like, he's got a 3.5-inch reach disadvantage to Imavov. He's like, 4 or 5 inches shorter. But he's tough, man. He's durable. He's going to be there. And we don't know that Imavov can sustain any type of pace in rounds 4 or 5. So I think, fishing for a Gastelum live bet, like if it's 1-1 and Gastelum took round 2, I think you enter right there because I think it's going to get worse for Imavov going forward. And to what Scrap's point about, like, if Gastelum is having success early and you end up playing like even money or whatever, fuck it. Like, I think if he's having success early, I think he's going to finish Imavov over the course of the fight. So that's my take. I think Imavov is this, I think he has success early. I think he's bigger, a little bit faster. I think he's got a good, front choke series guillotine to deter early wrestling. But I think Gastelum has all the tools to take over late.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Just not much conviction from me other than dog or pass. Let's finish off. So what we do on the podcast, mate, we do some best bets from every guest. So your number 1 and your number 2, and then obviously slim pickings on this event, but 1 or 2 best bets from everyone might be a good card. I'll let you go first, Evan, just because you're.
Well, let me ask you a question. I mean, I'm not going to tip Charles Johnson at minus 200. I have 2 bets.
Why not, dude?
Because he's minus 400 now.
Oh, right. Common sense.
So I guess right now, I got some good CLV right now. What can I tell you, Steve? All right, let me look. At current lines, what I would give out is... It's tough, man. It's tough. I would honestly... All right, I don't have access to this right now, but if fight doesn't go to decision, it's plus 155 in the main event, Imavov versus Gastelum on 5 dimes. For me, that would be the best value spot at current lines. Plus 155, 25-minute fight. I would take that. My best bet.
I bet when lines get released, are they usually pretty similar to 5 dimes, or are they a bit different?
I don't know.
You guys
normally the market kind of just plays copycat and lets people figure it out.
Yeah, they'll probably open similar, but then they'll move, right? Because the thing is, like, barely anyone bets on 5 dimes, and the limits are so low that lines can't really get hammered into shape there. So they'll probably open. Maybe they'll open fairly similar, but by the time most people can actually get down, they could well look pretty different.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. What about your second bet, mate? Do you have a number 2?
Oh man, another one. Shit.
I know it's rough. Props. It would have been better with props, but oh well.
I know it's tricky, man. It's tough. Let me look at this. Viera goes the distance minus 300 now. I'll go Danny Ige. I like Danny Ige. I mean,
you bet him.
I bet him at plus 102.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not giving out other people. It's just what your favorite bet is.
Yeah, Ige. I like Ige.
If he gets a round 1 knockout, which he's due for one, it's been a while. He still looks value. So, what about you, Scrap? What do you got, mate? I know you got Abdul as your one and only bet at the moment.
Yeah, the only bet I've actually got is on Razak, so obviously that'll be 1. And then, like, assuming that these prices are, rest of the market opens them somewhat in line with what 5 dimes has got. Jackson by decision at plus 240 would be a small play for me there. But yeah, beyond that, I don't see too much that's really interesting. Probably just those 2. I mean, you touched on a few things like a Charles Johnson KO 2-3. But I have a feeling the books might be pretty onto it. Like we've seen, those late KO sort of props be priced just more and more disgustingly as of late. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case there. And then the only other thing is, like, if you're into your parlays and whatnot, I couldn't hate on anyone parlaying Basharat and the woman fight to GTD together. So a couple of minus 300s. I understand that's not for everyone, but I feel fairly confident in, Javid and then the Ketlin and Raquel going the distance.
The Basharat fight, according to 5 Dimes, is $1.70 to end and finish. So slight favorite, slight juice odds. I guess I'll play that, but I feel like it's not going to be anywhere near that when it opens up around everywhere else. I've only played 2 bets. I played Dulgarian at $3 and it's moved. So I've had a feeling it would move. I was sussing out the hype and everything. I was like, yeah, I reckon people are going to bet this guy down when they realize how not great Argueta is. And then the only other bet that I officially locked in is Ige pick him, because I also felt the line would move and I was leaning towards him, and I just wanted to do some more tape before I was doing a Chad, locking in my position. So now it's moved. Now it's a slight favorite, and I might still keep it, but I want to look into it. Like I said, I'm still going between, does it get backpack for 2 out of 3 rounds, or does Ige just do what Ige does and scramble up? Sometimes, like Scrap says, sometimes he's a turtle, sometimes he wrestles up consistently. I think he always has one round where he just decides to be a turtle for 5 minutes, and then the rest of the rounds he's scrambling up. So if you can do that, win a 29-28, I'll be happy with that. But still looking into it. I'll do my final thoughts. That's the reason I started that podcast, because I don't really have shit usually in the first episode. Let's look at some comments. Herb Dean loves you, Evan. Does Evan have that facial hair so people can differentiate him from Strickland, or is it unrelated?
No, that's exactly why I have the facial hair. Good question.
Right. What do you guys think of MMA Prodigy 32? I have no idea who that is.
I think he's really sharp. Very sharp guy.
So everyone here in the chat today wants us to start drama. I blame Evan. It's never happened before.
Dude, you started all that shit. For those who don't know, Steve came into a Discord and deleted all the channels.
By accident.
Yeah, but there's some sensitive little,
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah. Look, I'll tell the story. I came in there and the fucking NFL and the NBA just kept going off, and I was like, "Fuck me!" Like, I don't really care about these sports. I'll just go and mute it, like all the other Discords. And then I got a message saying, "Are you sure you want to delete this?" I was like, "Well, hopefully this is not deleting it." I'm not a moderator, so I can't really delete this, right? So I just clicked it.
It was all Martian's fault. I mean, you're running this Discord for 2 years, man. Change the settings.
Yeah, and then I just went about my business, started to do tape, and then I got hit up by Evan, got hit up by Pepe. They're like, "Dude, what? Everyone wants to know why you done it." I'm like, "Done what?" And then Evan's like, "They're talking shit about you in general." I'm like, "What do you mean, bro? I didn't do shit." And then I realized I actually deleted it, and I was like, "Fair enough." Bets were going off, people were watching games, and I just fucking deleted it out of the blue. So I stand if people are mad. And then I got kicked. So, and then Evan took it into his own hands to just double down, triple down, delete other shit on purpose, and just be the most toxic person I know on Twitter. But yeah, it's entertaining, can't complain.
Yeah.
That's about it. Anything you want to plug, Evan? What's your podcast again, mate?
Combat Capital. Sometimes we do podcasts. Sometimes, a lot of times we don't. So it's okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, though.
It's pretty good. It's got relatively sharp people. It's not one of those casual pods. Check that out, mate. I got your Twitter on the bottom there. Subscribe to them. It's EV 6 A's ND if you're on Spotify. You got anything to add? Scrap, and we'll be out of here.
No, all good.
All good. No worries. Thanks for joining me, boys. It was fun. It was just under 1 hour and 20 minutes. Perfect. And good luck on your bets. And good luck on LFA if you're betting it. No time for those bets now. And I'll see you in a couple of days.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Catches.